Diya. I'm a choreographer and a dancer. I live in Bangalore and I've been here for a while now, working mainly in contemporary dance. This is one of my first sort of explorations into the zone of movement over sort of dance vocabulary. I'm very excited about it because it's a quieter piece. It's something I've been wanting to make for a while. The exploration is around gender, but you can think of it as gender being the larger canvas and the context being more touch, intimacy, perception. And I don't know if we'll succeed with it, but to somehow invite you, your eyes, your ears, your sense of touch even, to lean in closer and look at what's going on between two people or three people on stage. And I'm trying as much as I can um, to let you come into the smallest details and to sort of to give you enough space that you can see what you're seeing as opposed to an image that perhaps I'm enforcing on you. The structure is choreographed, but there's a lot of improvisation, which means that I don't know sometimes what's going to happen, and nor do the dancers, which is what keeps it alive for us. And every time it kind of sets too much, then I kind of break it up again because they stop being honest. They go into performance, so it's that kind of a zone. Yeah. So you can think of it. It's called Rorschach Touch at the moment. That's the working title. It comes from the Rorschach ink blot test, which psychologists use, which is a lot of ink smeared on two pieces of paper. You look at different shapes, and everyone sees different shapes, which is used to testify in terms of what kind of tendencies you have, your mental state, all of that. So it's really about how one sees. And the hope is that because it's the kind of piece that changes very little, you see it maybe twice, or you see it the second time, you come back and see it. So you see that you see differently on the next day. Because I've seen it 100 times and I see it differently every day. So yeah, that little thing is what's exciting for me.
Why gender bender?
Mm, Actually, the piece started out with an exploration of similar context, but between two female bodies. And then it has opened up now to we have two male, two female. They are all dancers, and I want to keep like pushing the stages. So what I see happening next is perhaps to like make, I don't know, my mom and dad do the choreography, because it's really simple. It's just anybody can do it. It's just that the dancers do it in a certain way, so they kind of articulate touch in a slightly different way than non-dancers do. So I'm interested in that space because I don't know what it is. And so gender bender, because that's an interesting question, because we are seeing, for example, the piece starts with two female bodies, and then you see something happen between them, and then the exact same thing happens between the one of the females and a male dancer. So it's just a really obvious premise, but the idea is to experience that premise, because sometimes we forget the most obvious things that are very easy to sort of articulate, and we know it in an intellectual space, in a cognitive space. It's very easy to forget how we see. The most educated of us, the most traveled, cultured, liberal of us still see in a certain way. And I'm hoping to slow it down even more. We haven't been able to because we have a certain time now, but I'm hoping to slow it down even more so that you really see what you see rather than what's going on in front of you. That's kind of what I'm looking to do. So it's your relationship with the gendered body, with a male and a female body, or two female bodies, two male bodies in juxtaposition. There's a certain way that one reacts to the other. There's a certain way that one reacts to another body that is doing exactly the same thing. But that's coming from them. It's not even coming from you or me. Like, I can see it when they do it. So those truths, to not go into this like, oh, we are all equal, androgynous zone. No, there is something very beautiful about maleness and femaleness. and of course the grey areas and the fact that there's so much femaleness in the male and maleness in the female and all of that. So for yeah, it's a kind of larger gendered canvas. I would like to keep it alive because while I've become very attached to now these four dancers, I was also very attached to the two women who were doing it earlier. And I have a feeling that the more and more different bodies that I try it with, it'll get more and more exciting for me. Children, homosexuality, two men, two women, uh, sort of even the two men in the piece, they have very different presence. You'll be able to see that. As do the women are sort of more close to each other. But if I was to bring in a woman now with a very different presence, for example, it would completely change. Something really tiny would become something really big. Yeah, so we've been playing with that and how to kind of accentuate that quietness, and that's my job, to be clever enough choreographically to hold you and quieten you so that you can actually experience it rather than watch it from the outside. We are playing a little bit with the fact that you have your mirror neurons and you know what this feels like in the body, whether you do it or not. And you definitely know what this feels like. So, or this feels like. So, hoping that you're tuned into that. Or, you know, if I look at you in a certain way, or if I look at you in a certain way, you know this, we know this, we're wired to know it. So, just to give you that all that information that you already have, but in a certain context is, yeah. And I feel like it'll change. I was afraid of the fact that it's too slow and people will get bored. But I'm at that place where I'm like, okay, that's okay if they do, you know, because I've done it in, like, we've been doing in the studio. Okay, actually, so what I am apprehensive about is doing it on stage, which is what we're doing tomorrow. Because we've been doing it in a studio and asking friends to come and watch, because the dancers are sort of using the audience a bit, so they need to practice with a live, unknowing audience. So now doing it on stage, I just saw it for the first time on stage. We did a test, and it's quite different, and I can understand why. It's very, very hard to stay in that real zone when you're on stage and there are lights on you. Performers will perform. So how are they going to play with that? How are they going to open it to you but not perform it for you? You know, but that's great fun. Like, you know, like, that's the idea, to like tickle it a bit and see. Excited. Yeah, it's a very subtle exploration. So like the last piece I did was a very like aggressive feminist piece, which is, I still think, like something I want to do and I keep doing. But this piece is also a gendered exploration, but it's damn subtle. It's very delicate. It's very I'm not saying big things. I'm not saying men are like this, Indian men need to step up, you know, women, I'm not saying that. It's just this moment now, two eyes, two hands, two bodies or four bodies, what have you. And it changes every day for them. So yeah, it's a very subtle question. So I'm feeling happy that four of them did this with me, you know, and they were nice enough to do it because they're fabulous movers and I'm not letting them move at all. I'm a bit like, stay there. So, yeah, so I'm grateful, like, I'm excited.
Is there anything
In the last month or so, I think we've gone into sort of structuring, trying different things. But in the beginning, I didn't know what would happen. So it was really interesting for me to actually see this. These are performers, these are dancers. They're very used to touching and looking and staring for like 5 hours at each other in front of an audience. But even then, the minute you say you're not performing, you're in a real zone, and you give them a real root, something to root them in their actual lives and in their bodies, something different happens. You know, like they react to each other very differently from how they react in a performance context. So I've actually learnt a lot just watching them. I think it's made me a better listener. Like, oh my god, like that was different today. And I'm a bit obsessive right now, so I'm being able to see very tiny differences, which perhaps someone else will be like, okay, yeah, it's not that exciting, but Yeah, I actually learned a lot from it. So, yeah.
Savage does really well there, beats the ball out wide. Watch Roberts, fakes like he's going to go near, goes in behind Shelby, and he's left in front of goal. It's a wonderful cross, but it's wonderful movement that gives Jason Roberts his opportunity, and he is not going to miss from there. It's an emphatic finish, and Reading have got the lead that Brian McDermott, well, he would have been craving against his old club. Didn't he enjoy it? The first time that Brian McDermott has faced his old club, the third time that Jason Roberts has scored against Arsenal. It's left for Chris Gunter to take. penalty. It's a penalty now for Leicester City, and if they score this, they will be in the Championship playoff final. The Watford players cannot believe it. There was definitely an arm out as far as Cassetti was concerned, but it was a very harsh decision. Knockout was very keen to go to ground, and as a result, Leicester City have a penalty kick in the 6th. Saved in Almunia! A double save! The initial penalty from Knockout was saved. He got the rebound, and he looked as if the rebound was going, but he saved that as well. And now Watford are on the cap. He got the rebound.
കൈവിരലുണ്ണും നേരം കണ്ണുകൾ ചിമ്മും നേരം കനിവയലിലെ കിളി കൺമണിയേ ഉറക്കാമോ നീ ചെല്ലം ചെല്ലം നീ ചെല്ലം ചെല്ലം തെയ്യം തെയ്യം തുള്ളി തുള്ളി വാവാ ശ്രീരാഗമോ തേടുന്നു നീ വീണതും തന്ത്രി സ്നേഹാർദ്രമോ ഏതോ പദം തേടുന്നു ഈ നമ്മൾ നിൻ മൗനമോ പൂമാനമാ നിൻ രാഗമോ പൂപാ
मार मत
क्या
आते प्रॉपर्ली दे ना